November 15th, 2023 was the day that Wells Fargo was supposed to add transfer partners to their credit cards, and more specifically, the $0 annual fee Wells Fargo autograph card. But that didn't happen, so I'll go over my predictions of what I think Wells Fargo's transfer partners will be once they're finally announced. Before I give you my list of predicted transfer partners, I do want to give an update so you know about what day you should be expecting these transfer partners to hit Wells Fargo's system. From information that I was able to find on Reddit, people were calling into Wells Fargo to see what the update was, and they were getting the response of this is going to happen on December 10th. I don't have a Wells Fargo credit card, so I can't actually read the statement for myself, but from the bits and pieces I'm getting from the internet, it does look like December 10th is going to be the new date where points transfer is going to be available. But of course, this points transfer option can be released before December 10th or after. We just have to wait and see, and the bank will do whatever they think is best for them. Since I and many of you are on the edge of our seats waiting to see what Wells Fargo is going to do, I will give my predictions on the airline partners and hotel partners that Wells Fargo might add on their initial list. My ideal list for the new Wells Fargo transfer partners for their $0 annual fee autograph card would be the Bilt transfer partners. Bilt is a Wells Fargo card. You can see it on the website if you just go to wellsfargo.com and look at their credit cards. Bilt will be right there. And so it would make sense if they shared the same transfer partners, the Bilt card and the autograph card, but it's not necessarily going to work out this way. That's because Bilt already had this agreement with all of their transfer partners before coming under the Wells Fargo umbrella, and so they may have the same transfer partners or they may be completely different. But if we were going off of the ideal of the Wells Fargo autograph card for their transfer partners, they have some great ones with Bilt that I would hope would be similar. So with the Bilt card, we have American Airlines, Hyatt, Virgin Atlantic, Air Canada, Flying Blue, Air France, and KLM, and also British Airways. Those are some amazing transfer partners. You can get really good redemptions when you use these 5 airlines and the 1 hotel that I just mentioned. So honestly, if the Wells Fargo autograph card just came out with those 6 transfer partners and nothing else, it would be an amazing list. But we cannot count on Wells Fargo to have the same transfer partners as Bilt, so let's get into my realistic list of what I expect Wells Fargo to do. Just as a reminder, I could be completely wrong with all of these predictions, but I should be right on at least a couple of these since I've done a lot of research into all of the different banks, Chase, American Express, Citi, Capital One, and Bilt to come up with this list where hopefully I'm going to get a few of these correct. Let's start off with the airlines I expect to see from Wells Fargo. Well, 4 of them that I just mentioned, talking about Bilt, I do expect them, at least like 3 of these, to be a part of Wells Fargo. That would be Flying Blue, Air France, KLM, Air Canada, British Airways, and Virgin Atlantic. I do think that all 4 of those have a very good chance to be a Wells Fargo transfer partner because all 4 of these are transfer partners with Chase, American Express, Capital One, Citi, and Bilt. So it would make sense for all 4 of them to also be a transfer partner with Wells Fargo. Of course, we can definitely be surprised. I would be shocked if all 4 of these did not make it in. I would give it about a 70 to 80% chance that each one of these will make it in as a Wells Fargo transfer partner, just because they are with all the other banks, but who really knows? Next up with the airlines, I do want to go to our next category of ones that I am speculating a little bit on, actually quite a bit. And the next airline I want to talk about is American Airlines. Since this is a Bilt transfer partner, I wanted to include this on the list. I'm not too confident that this one is going to be a Wells Fargo transfer partner, but I absolutely would love to see it because there's no other bank that offers American Airlines as a transfer partner except for Bilt. So that means Chase, American Express, Capital One, and Citi, none of them transfer to American Airlines. I would be extremely surprised to see American Airlines on this transfer partner list, but that would just be a huge, gigantic win for all of us involved with credit cards. But sadly, I would only give this about a 20% chance of actually happening. I don't think American Airlines is going to become a Wells Fargo transfer partner, as sad as that is, and as much as I want it to happen, I don't think it's going to happen. Next up on this list is Emirates. They have their hub in Dubai in the UAE. It doesn't get talked about a whole lot as a good transfer partner, but it is one of all of the major banks, and so because it is with Chase, American Express, and all the rest of them, I do actually expect to see this on the Wells Fargo transfer partner list. I'm not as confident about this one as I am about all the other airlines that I've already mentioned, except American Airlines, but it would kind of surprise me if it was not on this initial list. This next one is Turkish Miles and Smiles. This one probably doesn't have the best chance to be on the Wells Fargo list, but I did think I should mention it here because I do think that there's about a 40% chance of this one actually happening. I like this program just because you can book United domestic flights for any distance for 7,500 miles in economy. You can go from New Jersey all the way to Hawaii for 7,500 points, or you can go from Phoenix to LA for 7,500 points. So I'd recommend taking the longer distance flight. It's a pretty good deal. It also has a lot of other good features about the program, but that's just the one that stands out to me. Now we're going to get into the next partner, and that would be United. United, since we just talked about it with Turkish Airlines, I think there's around a 60% chance of this happening, so a little bit better than Turkish Airlines. I just say this because it seems like there needs to be a domestic airline with the Wells Fargo transfer partners, and so if it's not going to be American Airlines, like I already mentioned, and it's most likely not going to be Delta because Delta has a pretty good partnership with American Express, I would think that United would be the obvious choice here. Again, it may not happen. I say about a 60% chance of this happening, but it's at least something to think about. Moving on to Singapore Airlines, this is a popular one among all of the banks except for Bilt, which is interesting. I want to give this one about a 50% chance of happening with Wells Fargo, and I love Singapore, but I don't completely love their currency when I'm booking with points. I would rather use Air Canada's Aeroplan to book with points because I've generally found that to be cheaper in terms of spending less points for a flight to Singapore instead of using Singapore Airlines. Cathay Pacific is one that I also give about a 50% chance of happening. I don't know too much about Cathay Pacific. I know that their base is in Hong Kong, and I haven't really looked to fly them a whole lot, but they are a transfer partner of all of the major banks except for Chase, and so it seems like they could be going on the Wells Fargo transfer partner list. The last airline I'm going to talk about before we get to the hotels is Avianca. This one is not too high on my probably going to happen list. I give it about like a maybe 20 to 30% chance of happening, but it is with a couple other banks, American Express, Citi, and Capital One, and so I thought I should at least mention it here, even if it probably won't end up happening. Now moving on to hotel partners, and after I do this, I will give my full list of the 7 airlines and the 2 hotel partners that I expect to be on the Wells Fargo list on December 10th when it is supposed to be released. So with hotels, let's start out with Choice Privileges. This one is interesting because Wells Fargo already offers a co-branded Choice Hotels card. So I think that it would make sense if Choice was a transfer partner of Wells Fargo, and I'm going to do something interesting. I'm going to say that the ratio is going to be 1 Wells Fargo point equals 2 Choice points. I say that because Citi currently has that deal with the Citi Premier card that if you transfer points out to Choice that way, you can get a 1-to-2 ratio. That isn't going to happen with all of the banks that have Choice as a transfer partner, but I think Wells Fargo can get that done. Please don't hold me to that, and like I said, it probably won't happen how I'm saying it in this video, but I'm being a real optimist here. Now I have to talk about Hyatt, which is the best hotel program when it comes to transferring out your bank points to hotel programs. I put it on the list because it is a Bilt transfer partner. It's also a Chase transfer partner, and so I think that there is some hope here. I really want it to happen. If we get American Airlines and Hyatt and basically nothing else, I think this would be a huge win. As I said earlier, unfortunately, I don't think that this is going to happen. I give it about like a 30-40% chance of happening, just because like Hyatt is like one of the best transfer partner options. It is the best transfer partner option for hotels, and so it would take a lot to become a Wells Fargo transfer partner. Now we move into IHG, also Marriott. I kind of lump these together because I do think these hotel programs are pretty good, but they're also really bad when you transfer out your points to their programs, just because a lot of reasons, but it just wouldn't even be worth it for me to transfer out my points pretty much ever to either of these. And so there's not much to talk about here, but they do have a slightly better chance of being a Wells Fargo transfer partner than Hyatt, so of course I gotta mention it here. So if you're tracking with me on my probabilities for each of these airlines and hotels, for the 7 airlines, we have Air Canada, British Airways, Cathay Pacific, Emirates, Flying Blue, Air France KLM, United, and Virgin Atlantic. These are going to be my 7 predictions, all transferring at a ratio of 1 Wells Fargo point to 1 airline mile. The notable exclusions are going to be American Airlines, there's going to be Turkish Airways, and Avianca. I would like all 3 of these to be Wells Fargo transfer partners, but I just don't think that it's necessarily going to happen. For the 2 hotel partners, I'm going to go with Choice, transferring at a 1-to-2 ratio, and with IHG. And the notable exclusion here is Hyatt. I just don't necessarily think it's going to happen. I'm trying to be a little bit optimistic, but also have some realism with this. Once there's an update from Wells Fargo about their partners, I will be happy to make a video about that. So make sure to subscribe, as I'm trying to hit my first 1,000 subscribers on this channel. So every subscription means a whole lot to me. And I thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to check out any referral links that I have for cards that I hold, it'll be in the description. I don't have a Wells Fargo autograph referral link yet, but maybe I'll get one in the future. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.